It is.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Housekeepers Podcast. I am your host, Ralph Peterson, and I am so excited. I have just popped up a ton of boxes for some reason. Little boxes on a hillside. Little boxes made of ticky-tacky. You didn't know that you were going to come in and just enjoy the pipes that I have. You're welcome.
You're bringing it.
You're welcome.
Yes, exactly.
Rob Bernardy.
That is I.
I got to tell you, I have been writing your name down for a couple of weeks now, like we're dating. You know, when you pull out like when you're always writing you and whoever on the notebook.
Yep.
And I recognize maybe 4 or 5 days ago, now I have advertised your name a few times, like, hey, Rob Bernardy's gonna be on the show. I keep forgetting there's an R. So I may have been calling you Rob Bernardy, not Bernardy.
Well, you're from New York, so it's good.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I was just saying.
I know you're not from there, but you're living there, so you gotta pick it up.
I don't mind being lumped in with New Yorkers, but to be clear, I'm more of a Bostonian. If we're going to be accurate on the podcast, which is what we're going to be doing here, Housekeepers Podcast, cleanest hour in podcast. I'm so excited to have you on, and we've been talking for a while. Marcus actually was on, and he's good friends with you as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Mark's a great guy. Amazing.
That's how you and I got connected, and I'm super excited to meet you because you currently are supervisor at Joliet School District.
Correct. Yeah, it's in the top 10 largest school districts in Illinois. So we got 23 buildings. I work with 120 custodial staff and maintenance. About 1.5 million square feet, all old buildings. Nothing's new around here, So it keeps us on our toes. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no question. I can't. The amount of gum. That's all. Like every time,
Good point. Yes. Yeah. Especially summer mass cleaning underneath the desk. I mean, how many we could scrape off? I mean, it's insane. It is insane. We could create artwork with it.
Yeah. No question. No question. It looks like. Wait a minute here. Go live. It didn't let me go live on a couple of places. Why? Broadcast. Why? We're live on YouTube, which is good. But why isn't it? Me too. I'll just share it from YouTube, but I don't understand why it's not letting me go live everywhere else. Let me see here. Just let me make sure I'm able to do this. Go live. I'm going to be doing a lot of editing. Okay, well, we are currently live on YouTube, which I don't know why nothing else is working, but that's okay. I'll rebroadcast it live on Facebook and LinkedIn. I apologize. I don't know why that's not working right this second. But rather than try to figure out in real time, I'd rather talk to you and then we can share the real time video. How's that sound?
That sounds perfect, man. You're the boss. You're the boss.
Good. I like being the boss. What's funny is I was on a mastermind call today, and I don't know if you ever belong to a mastermind call, but they're pretty great. It's, just a bunch of professionals all on the same page, and we give each other like 15, 20 minutes to kind of, explain a business problem we're having or some issue that we're having. And then we all just try to brainstorm with each other and try to support, add some insight. It's really great. And this woman was having a little bit of a leadership problem. And so, I just offered a couple of insights, nothing too crazy. And, a bunch of us did. And it just, they're like, oh, she was like, it's really great insight on your part. And I just reminded her, when you're a professional manager, your job is to eat crow. I mean, that's kind of the job.
Yeah.
Is to constantly apologize, constantly go, oh, you didn't mean it that way. We know you did. We know you did, but I'm going to go ahead and let you save face. I won't save face. I'll let you save face, right? Like it's that.
It's true. I think, again, with, especially in leadership, a lot of times we have to be able to say sorry for yesterday. It's yesterday, right? And a lot of times they can't let it go. So for us to be, the leader, right? I mean, the manager type to just say, hey, I'll let it go. Just let me help you. And the way to help them is just by saying you're sorry. Hey, man, I apologize. Let's just move forward. And obviously the next step is give them direction on where you're going from there, right? So you apologize for yesterday, and then, hey, now it's on you. I'll take the heat on the last one, but I need your help on this one. So, and it's just following up with it. But yeah, no, it's a great advice. So many people are afraid to say sorry. It's not that hard.
Well, sometimes I'm not sorry.
Well, that's true. That's why I always say apologize. Good point. The word apologize is the right term. The word apologize, that's one thing I learned in leadership was like, always say, don't say sorry because I know you don't mean it. Say you apologize or deeply apologize.
Or I'm sorry this happened to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry you took it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
all I mean is that I too, and I mean this sincerely, I too want to throw myself on the ground and act like a 7-year-old, flailing my arms and legs and throwing a temper tantrum. I too want to do it. I know I can't. And you know what I mean? Like, the only difference between you and me is I know I can't, but I want to, just so we're all on the same page. I too want to act like I want to be unreasonable. I want to be belligerent. I want to use curse words. I too want to raise my voice.
That's what we do when we get home. That's my wife has to tolerate that. So unfortunately, that's why I love it.
Why are you giving me a hard time? Because I can't give anybody else one. Okay.
Amen. Amen.
Exactly. Goodness, I just asked him if you wanted green beans for dinner. I got a lecture on coming to work on time. I don't know what's going on here.
On the scent of urine. Why am I talking about urine when we talked about green beans? I don't know. Whatever. It goes that way.
All right, Rob. Let's start. Let's go back to the beginning. And where did you grow up? What was it like for you growing up? Are you always from where you are now in Chicago area?
Yeah, I've always grew up in Chicago. Grew up in a small suburb just west of there, very small, called Melrose Park. Back then it was, all Italian. So pretty much grew up with that type of culture of, a lot of people that were even connected. My friend's family was connected. So just kind of going through that type of scene. And
wait, don't run by this. What does connected mean? Exactly.
Connected means connected to the the Chicago Mafia, stuff like that. So we've seen a lot of that growing up. So
really,
yeah, a lot of the stuff in that area was tied to that. They're no longer around now, but I'm not.
So what was that like growing up around? What do you
just kind of we got started working young. Just working young, knowing we had to hustle. Protect your territory. Stick together, teamwork. I use those polite terms, but it was kind of a crew. We were a brotherhood. We stuck together, and watched each other's back, stuff like that. So it was a tougher neighborhood. We're constantly battling. And in Chicago, there's a couple other Italian neighborhoods around there, like called Elmwood Park, Addison, stuff like that. So they always wanted to be the better ones than us. So it was always like a kind of a conflict growing up with that. But I wouldn't say it was just, it wasn't an easy walk in the park, I guess. It was just grew up, divorced parents, young, very, very poor, not a lot of money. But we got through it. So
yeah. Did you find yourself, how many are you? Like, how many siblings do you have?
Yeah, just me and my brother. So just me and my brother. Yeah, my brother's older. And then
do you have like cousins though? Did you have like a large extended family, or is it just kind of like the neighborhood took care of the neighborhood?
Yeah, our family was our friends, we just, the people we surrounded ourselves, if we had a couple of good friends that their family was tight, and we would always all stay with them and spend a lot of time with them. They would feed us, stuff like that, when we couldn't get food, stuff like that. So, it was just, that was our extended family. I had a lot of uncles. So, and a lot of them stayed in the same house as we did. We all lived in like my grandma's house. So,
oh, right.
Yeah. So, cause where my parents got divorced. So it was just kind of like that. Very busy house, a lot of guys, like if you wanted to say something, you had to yell at the dinner table, who could yell the loudest, until grandpa put his hammer down, and it's like, all right, we shut up, but it was just an interesting childhood. But, like I said, it prepares us for the future, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. So what was your first job? I mean, you said you started to work early. Did you get were you like a little entrepreneur? Were you out there?
No, great question. I started off at around 10 years old. Well, we would make money on the side running things for obviously some of the people in the neighborhood, family, running things as envelopes, stuff with like bookies, stuff like that, gambling stuff. We would go and take care of that. That was obviously the first real, not considered job, but we really don't. we really don't. When I got into work, it was 14 years old. They let us work at 14. Now we can get paid back then. But I was just started at a grocery store. Just grabbing carts. At 14, I was already out on my own at the time too. So I'd already moved out, living on my own, paying rent. At 14. So
wow.
And,
So what do you mean? Were you like going and grabbing grocery carts that people left on the streets, or collecting them down? How is that?
No,
work?
Just like in a grocery store, like Jewel. Like Walmart. We were the cart guys. So they did it at 14. At 14, you were allowed to work up to 7 p.m. So as soon as I got out of school, I worked till 7 p.m. If I had a work permit through high school, they give you those permits. I don't even know if they do that anymore. But,
yeah, they do. They do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So so they I was doing that. Just stayed in a grocery store, and then once I got old enough, 16, worked my way inside the store, and just that's kind of how I started, was in that industry.
In what store? What was the grocery store called? Like a Kroger's, or?
It was a small family-owned business called Century Foods. They were a Centrella brand. I don't know if you guys got Centrella Foods out there.
No.
Yeah, so in Chicago, there's like the Centrella brand is like a brand that supports a lot of small family-owned grocery store businesses. You don't see a lot of them anymore. All of them are pretty much bought up now.
You don't see a lot of mom and pop grocery stores anymore.
Yeah, no, they're pretty much, they're just bought up. So, but back then it was awesome because, learned a lot. They gave you a lot of opportunity. If you were there, you were on time, you were putting in the work, they had no problem, devoting time to you, where you're not just kind of like a number, you see in the corporate America, So that was it.
I got to say, there's an awful lot to showing up on time.
It starts there, right? Yeah, I know. It's just
really, it does, not to put too fine of a point on things, but if you give somebody who just shows up on time and then works when they're there, you don't have to work hard. If you show up and work, I mean, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game.
It is. That is like the number one thing. It's sad that, I just conducted training for my team, and that's one thing that, I had to review again. And it's just sad that we have to do that, but you have to, you just
every
go back
day.
To basic. Yep.
Every day. And it's not, it's funny how, I don't know what your experience is, but in my experience, it's funny how every generation thinks the generation under them is, a lazy SOB in one sense or another. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, I have every generation struggling to get to work.
Amen.
And some older generations are the worst offenders.
I agree.
And if they do get to work, they have an attitude and a chip on their shoulder.
We owe them something. Yeah.
As I was going to say, as if I should be not only giving them a paycheck, but, also providing them a wheelchair, so they ain't going to walk from one area to the next. Exactly. God forbid,
And lunch. You got to give them lunch.
Got to give them lunch.
Yeah, don't forget that.
High fives.
Not just the time for lunch. I mean, you have to actually buy the meal, for them daily. So, and even when they do, they say they don't. It's a struggle. But yeah, it is goes back to the basics, and it's amazing how that is becoming more dominant, of a feature of things you got to look into when you're interviewing, when you're trying to hire. Can you show up to the interview on time? I mean, simple things like that. I mean, it's just crazy.
I think, what's fun is I love large companies, especially when it comes to, if you pay attention to their marketing, their recruiting, whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I remember I got my first writing job, my first official writing job at a radio station called Sison Broadcasting. And there was a program manager who asked me to go spend the weekend in a hotel hours away from me because there was a radio station, one of the largest in the market. Mm-hmm. And he wanted me to go and spend 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And the only thing I did was listen to the radio station for 48 hours, or as much as I could anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And write down every time they went to a commercial, every time they played, like if they did a funny bit, every time they played a song, what song they played. And when so he's like, do you mind doing this? I'll pay you, free hotel. You just got to go down and, just record everything you hear when, out to me the timeline. And I was like, sure. I was a young guy. I'm like, oh, that sounds fine. I had no idea why. It didn't even dawn on me how silly it kind of seemed, but it seems kind of silly. Mm-hmm. But then I get back and he sits me down and he's reviewing my notes. Mm-hmm. And he's like, all right, let's do some math here. And he's like, all right. So on Saturday, they did 18 commercials. They played this song 6 times, that song 5 times. And interesting, they stopped playing this at 4:00 in the afternoon and they started a new lot. And he's just like dissecting what I thought was mundane, kind of, like, what the heck am I writing down? He totally saw what it was. And what he was doing was he was dissecting their program. And he said to me, he goes, listen, we're a very small radio station. We have a very small budget. They are $1 million radio station. They've done all the research. They know the market. Mm-hmm. All we're going to do is follow their lead. If they play a dance song at 7 a.m., we're playing a dance song at 7 a.m. If they go to news at 7:08, we're going to news at 7:08. That stuck with me. I was like, oh, you got to pay attention. And so fast forward, I told you that story to say this. So fast forward, I'm running, 8 or 10 nursing homes. I'm running the housekeeping and laundry departments in nursing homes. I work in healthcare.
Okay. Yep.
And so similar to you, except I'm in healthcare. So nursing home, school, same thing.
Yep.
I stop at McDonald's and I go to the bathroom, and staring me in the face at the urinal is an advertisement for a night porter. A night porter. So they're looking for somebody to come in and clean from 11 p.m. until, whenever you got done, because you had to clean the fryers and all that stuff. And they closed at 11 at the time. Now, I think McDonald's, no, they're open 24 hours, so the drive-through is anyway. But at the time, they closed at 11. So they're looking for a night porter to come in and provide some cleaning services at 11 o'clock. I see the ad. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm leaving. I'm in my car. I'm driving away. I stop. And it dawns on me 2 things. Number 1, they're looking for a guy. It's in the men's urinal.
Amen.
Above the urinal. It's in the men's bathroom. I pull in. I run back in. I'm like, can I see a manager? Like, what's the matter? Nothing's the matter. Can I see a manager? What's the matter? Nothing's the matter. Manager comes out. I said, there is a recruitment sign in the bathroom for a night porter. Like, yeah, do you know anybody? No. This is what I want to know. Do you have that same sign in the women's bathroom? And he says, I don't know. I said, can we check? He's like, what? I said, because I'm recruiting too. I'm just curious. We go in the women's bathroom. We don't go. He goes in the women's bathroom, comes back out and goes, no, there's no sign is in there. I knew it. They're recruiting for a man. Okay, it's fine to recruit for a guy. But it was the first time that I was like, whoa, talk about specific advertisement. Now I'm driving away and I got churning because I'm constantly trying to hire, constantly trying to think of where to get staff. Then it dawns on me even further. They're advertising in the store, in the restaurant that they are recruiting for, meaning the people who are going to apply go to that McDonald's, which means they have transportation, they live near it. You know what I mean? Like, this is their McDonald's that they go to. And like, I swear to God, my face fell off. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. It's brilliant,
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. And we always say, success leaves clues. So obviously you're seeing that.
Great turn of phrase. Success leaves clues.
Yeah.
That's a great turn of phrase.
So, I mean, when you see, like you were talking about, obviously your small radio station going, hey, they're such a large radio station. Well, success leaves clues. Let's mock what they're doing. Let's, obviously if they're going to play a dance song at 7 a.m., I'm going to play a dance song at 7 a.m. Obviously it's working. So obviously you want to look for those clues. And obviously you pointed that out with the McDonald's restroom. I mean, it's just awesome.
It's really, really great. And it just goes to show, and I don't even know how I got on this subject. I think just with the small grocery stores aren't in business anymore.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're either got to follow the lead of those big giants or get eaten by them.
Exactly. I think that, truly understand your value and be able to sell the value, right? I mean, I think a lot of times they just play, just like any industry, whether it's the janitorial, paints, groceries, they play the price battle, and you're never going to win the price battle. There's a reason why 7-Elevens and gas stations still sell milk and still sell things. I mean, they're not going to win the price battle, but it's convenience. Their value is their location, and they use it to their advantage, right? I don't know how many times we don't do that, or we don't think like that, and we just try to play and fight the big guy one-on-one. And you have to be strategic. And I think that, sometimes they get away from that. They just get away from the simple. Take a step back, like you said, take a step back, look at it. Hey, we're looking for a guy to clean our restaurant, and we want a guy because it's at 11 at night, probably safety concerns, whatever they're going on in that area, right? It'd be better than a woman, so she's going to be
cleaning fryers. It's heavy, it's hot.
Exactly. So again, they're very specific for a reason. I think, so they thought that out. I think, again, sometimes business owners, including entrepreneurs, including ourselves, sometimes we just got to slow down, take a step back and simplify, and just kind of what is our value, and then obviously move forward with our value, right?
So what was after you moved out of moving carts, what was your job when you got inside the store? What'd you do?
Yeah, so I started stocking shelves and just working in stock, and then I worked my way into the produce section. Then I became, by the time I was 18, I was the dairy manager. I kind of ran all the dairy, everything coming in and out, ordering,
nice.
Which was cool. And then ended up, by the time I was 19, I was the assistant store manager. So I was able to kind of move up. So been in leadership for a long, long time. So it started
and
there.
Again, why did they choose you to be the leader? What was so special about you?
Great question. I think they chose me because, number one, I was committed. I was all in. I never called off. Work and money was obviously essential to me, living on my own. So it's one of my key values or strengths is work ethic. I just love the work. I love to put in the work. So I think they saw that. I think I can talk to. I think even back then, even before, you grow up and you're mature and you kind of learn how to speak to different people, whether you're talking to a CEO or you're just talking to a janitor, it doesn't matter. There is some tonality and things that you learn along the way of how to have those conversations. So for me, I just really think it was natural to have those kind of conversations, whether I was talking to the owner, talking to a customer. I understood customer service. I enjoyed that. That sense of accomplishment of helping somebody, and they saw that, and I think they felt they had somebody good, and they gave me the opportunity, and I didn't let them down, because again, I didn't really have a father, parent figure, in my life, so I utilized them at the same time, so they were helping me mature and grow, and I was listening to their advice, and they kind of took me under their wing, and I gave back with, hard work, dedication, showing up, do what I got to do,
Yeah, I like that. I like everything about that. I like that we don't, it's always ideal to have a mom and a dad in your life because they, are the ones who probably have the most interest, generally speaking, in your well-being and in
sure.
your, right? So it's best to have that. But if you don't have that, and many of us don't, it's really great that there are other people who step up. And you know what? I bet it's same for you as it was for me in the sense that I looked up to people who didn't even know I look up to them. You know what I mean? Like
so many.
It wasn't like they were like, come here, Ralph, I'm going to take you under my wing. But the way they behaved and I saw their results and the way they, probably the same for you. And I was like, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think thank God for Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, where I've had the opportunity to reach out and find them again and reach out and say thanks because again, there's a lot of people that have gotten me to the level of where I'm at. And I've had that opportunity to kind of step back and make sure I made that time to just shoot them a text, an email, a message on Facebook, whatever, just to say thanks. Cause it is important. And I think, they, like you said, they didn't have, there's so many times I come back, I had no clue, it's like, well, you did, man. And I appreciate it. And, keep doing what you do,
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And I remember Rush Limbaugh, who's passed away now, but I remember him saying, he was the first one to actually kind of like just say it. He probably just said it as a throwaway statement, but it really had an impact on me. And that is, he was talking about being good and working hard and keeping your head down and doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking. And he said that you are affecting more people than you will ever know because most people will never have the opportunity to tell you. It's not that they wouldn't or they don't want to. They just simply don't have the opportunity to. So you just have to know in your heart and your mind that you are on the right path. And it's so great when you are able to go out and go, hey, by the way, you really did help me out in this way. It's super awesome.
No, definitely been blessed, and again, a lot of good people, and and that's obviously my role now is to as a leader is to continue to give back, take their lead and run with it, let their legacy live on, and then live on through me. So I mean, obviously that's something is dear to my heart, and I really try to push forward with that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So when do you leave the grocery store, and what do you do next? What's the
So, 20 years old, I ended up leaving the grocery store and chasing money, more money per hour, right? That's what we do.
Oh, yeah.
And that brought me into the paint and coatings industry. So I had gotten a job for a Benjamin Moore paint dealer, and then worked there, and then really spent majority of my career working my way up in the coatings industry. So started out just, again, stocking shelves, pulling orders, then mixing paint, matching colors, which was a lot of fun. And then got into like supervisor, assistant manager.
Just every time.
Just push. Even changing companies along the way. If another company had an opening for an assistant manager, I was applying. I just very eager to succeed. I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't, a lot of kids that I grew up with went the wrong way. They eventually either got into drugs, got into other things. I didn't want to go down that road. So for me, it was, push. And the only way who was going to push me was me. So I had a lot to prove to my family. So yeah, I just, again, continued to climb, and then became a store manager, succeeded there. And I had my boss at the time. I was working for Sherwin-Williams, and my boss at the time, I wanted to be a sales rep. I was ready. I just had a great year. I was up 62%.
Wow.
They had a thing called the Flight Award. It's like if you win the award, you get like a trip. You get to go away for 5 days, and you could bring a significant other. And I gave up the award because I wanted to be a sales rep, and another company heard that I wanted to be a rep. So they hired me in the Sherwin-Williams parking lot, the competitor, and hired me on the spot. And then I got into outside sales. So from there, again, just continued to push forward in the coatings. And
why did you go from wanting to be in charge to wanting to be in sales?
Money.
That
money,
was it.
Yeah. I mean, well, money. And then, money was the main driver. I'm not going to lie, but I felt that as a rep. See, a lot of the sales reps that I worked with were in charge. They were coming to me, the store manager, telling me what to do, what I need to get done. They were managing their territory. They were managing their teams. I felt that, there still was a significant role. I could have my cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the freedom, get out on the road, not going to one location every day, kind of see if I'm disciplined, see if I'm committed.
It's the ultimate test, right?
The ultimate
test of personal perseverance. And let's not pull any punches here. The person who brings in the cash is in charge.
Hey man, I mean, I think that a lot of the times, that was the goal, and is to be the best and to become that number one sales rep. And I like chasing. I mean, I love the chase. I love to get after it and to continue to improve. I mean, simply put, is just, I think that's what life, not to get, too philosophical here, but like if we're not trying to improve, what are we doing? We're stuck, right? I mean, we're stuck or we're going backwards. And I say that all the time. And it's like, you know what? I can't be stuck. I got to continue to push. So, I just really pushed into outside sales. And then, obviously along that journey as well, I know I didn't bring it up, but along that journey as well, I got into law enforcement on the, I've always had more than one job. So
how did you get into law enforcement? What?
Yeah. So when I was my best friend at the time, when I was 21, his dad was the chief of police. So I spent a lot of time. So I grew up in his house. I mean, I spent a lot of time there. And
from running, here's the title.
Yeah,
running for the mafia.
Yeah, exactly. To law enforcement. Yeah. Well, I saw that my friends at 17, 18 years old were getting arrested. They were going down a different road. So I jumped on the bandwagon with a friend of mine named Johnny, who was on the football team. We played football together. Good kid and great kid, amazing guy, and miss him. and we kind of disconnected. He's fine and everything, but so he took me under his wing. His dad kind of filled that role for me too, and I wanted to work for the department. So at 21, got the opportunity to be a part-time police officer, and had to pass a power test. So a power test is you got to like bench press 98% of your body weight. You got to do 37 sit-ups in a minute. You got to run a mile and a half in 13:26. I'll never forget it. And then you have to do, you got to sit and reach.
Sick from it.
Yeah, you got to touch 1 inch past your toes. And so I had to take the test, and I failed it by not doing one sit-up. I had 14 seconds to do one sit-up. And it was like, I always say now that I'm older and gone through it, is that God had his foot on my chest. He was like, you're not ready. You weren't ready. And I wasn't ready. And I'm blessed that I didn't have that. But later in life, when I was about 28, I got that opportunity to do it again. And grace of God, I did pass and got into the academy. And I've been also a part-time officer for 17 years.
Wow. That's really great.
Yeah. So
that's
doing
really
all
great.
Yeah. So from sales, so what I would do is obviously I do my sales thing during the day, do some policing at night or on the weekends. And again, try to make that money, and have fun.
Yeah. It's interesting how you got, into the leadership and kind of got bit by that leadership bug, because it is romantic, right? I mean,
it is.
Being in charge is it is a feeling like no other, and so I completely understand how you're just constantly trying to find it. And then it's interesting that you go into sales, because it's almost like it kind of, to some who haven't done it, because I too went into sales. So I too went from managing a bunch of people into sales. And from a lot of people's perspective, it may look like you are being less in charge, but you're actually being more in charge of the hardest person you've ever been in charge of, you.
Exactly. And the accountability is huge.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is super hard. I think Mike Tyson was actually the guy who said it's hard to get out of silk sheets and go practice like you're an animal, like a starving animal. It's it's very hard to get up and just get yourself moving,
Yeah, I felt that the store manager role was honestly like, it was kind of like the work came to me, like if I'm the store manager, they just walked in the door and I handled it. Right. I mean, my job was if somebody called my phone, called the phone, placed an order, or they walked in the store, I took care of it, and I had to take care of it to the best of my ability. Right. But obviously now I'm going from, being fed to go out and hunt, and I had to hunt and get after it. And that was a huge difference and an exciting challenge for me that I really wanted to experience. And it really obviously catapulted my life, my mindset, because there's days where you came home with no food, you know what I mean? And you had to get up the next day and get after it. And it
no
was,
question.
And in the paint industry, it's, man, that's a rough industry. Because again, you paint a building, you're not going back to do anything for 5 to 6 years. And who's to say you're the one that goes back, with the product per se. It's not like the janitorial industry where it's residual, right? They're always going to need toilet paper, but that's a challenge in itself as well. So, but the coatings industry, like if you had a great product and it worked and the contractors knew about it, it was easier to sell. It was a good sell, because again, you had that confidence, and then when you go into selling toilet paper, and it's like, man, everybody sells toilet paper, so what good is it? Now what
what indeed.
That was the eye opener. That was the wow, that was the challenge.
So talk to me about the academy. How did that, what kind of effect did that have on your ability to lead?
Law enforcement in general has really catapulted my leadership, because you never go into a call. We call them, a call, or you never go to a scene or something like that where, they're celebrating someone's birthday. They're not in a good mood. It's somebody having a very bad day. Right. And so for me, being in law enforcement, it helped leadership because it helped me listen, number one, because you got to listen. Obviously they always say like 70% of communication is listening. It's not what the words that come out of your mouth. So obviously in law enforcement, if you're going to be a good officer, you have to listen. You really have to understand what's going on. Number two is you have to be able to talk through it and kind of, help them get through that moment, whatever moment they're going through, whether they're speeding, a domestic, someone just passing away, you know, and you're the first person on scene trying to say, you know, I mean, there's a car accident, you know, man with a gun. I mean, retail theft. I mean, they're stealing because they're homeless. I mean, I can go on for days. So a lot of that
mental health, I mean,
all that. Oh man. I mean, all those challenges that you face, and it's so quick, you know, you're just constantly move, you know, go. And, you have to adjust and adapt to it real quick. And you can't have a bad day. You know, when you put that uniform on, you can't be in a bad mood, you know, regardless of if I was fighting my wife that day, or, you know, I had to put my dog to sleep, whatever is going on in my life at the time doesn't matter. You know, what matters is their life. And that kind of helped me with leadership, is understanding it's not about me. It's about the person in front of me. And I have to address whatever's going on with them to the best of my ability, listen, obviously, and then obviously be empathetic, be humbled, and how can I get them back out there and get after it? So it's really, I believe, helped a ton. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would do anything except make you a better manager, because it makes you more empathetic, and it makes you more, what's the word? It makes you sharper. It makes you be able to go from situation to situation, to situation, and be able to be the loud talker, the slow talker, the fast talker, you know what I mean? Like, because you have to read it every single time and adjust your cadence, adjust your approach, adjust your own attitude, you know, and you're always doing one thing, trying to find the solution. Yeah, sometimes always. The solution is to haul you away. Sometimes the solution is just to separate you. Sometimes the solution is just to hear you out.
Exactly.
Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to make the decision. You have to go, all right, you're right, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're both wrong, but this is how we're going to handle it. You know, exactly.
You're less wrong than them. Yeah,
exactly. You didn't do as bad as that person.
Who's least wrong? Yeah,
exactly. No, and solution, you know, that is the goal. I mean, so, you know, solution selling or just solving problems. I mean, that's our goal, and that's our role as a leader. And whether it's a leader in our household, you know, a leader as a parent, you know, whatever we're doing, I mean, that is our main goal, is to solve that problem. And I think that's where it's really come into play and helped out a ton. So
talk to me now. So what is it like? What does your job day to day look like now? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So good question. I do a lot. So obviously I'm, you know, assistant director of buildings and grounds. I have a director above me that, you know, like I said, together we have a supervisor as well. So, you know, I mean, we have 2 assistant directors and a director. So there's a team of 3 that manage 120. So, you know, we got a big crew, and manage the 23 buildings. So I do that. That's I'm on the afternoon shift, and then, so managing that, kicking off the school year, making sure we provide the training. I'm in control of, or in charge of, like, the training aspect of it, being out in the field, kind of solving the problems, doing a lot of that. And then on the flip side of things, I also own my own business doing consulting, kind of some of the things that you do. So kind of, I enjoy the education sector. So I love to get out and work with directors and focus on leadership, training, you know, audits, you know, how can we improve? You know, with my company, we try to run a program called Simply Improve, you know, just kind of, I think the directors of buildings and grounds, and maybe you see this more even in the hospital sector. I've worked in the hospital sector quite a bit, but that was more on the sales side, not more on the consultant side, or actually been in the shoes that you are in. But I think that a lot of the people that sit in that role and in that director role or facility management role, it's a reactive role, right? I mean, I think a lot of the things you're doing is just putting out fires, right? I mean,
we don't want to be.
Exactly.
We work our hardest. We work really hard to be proactive. I can tell you all the problems we're going to have tomorrow.
Sure.
I can tell you every one of them today.
Yeah.
The challenge is, not everybody's going to believe me today that those are going to be problems tomorrow. And then when they come up tomorrow, nobody's going to say, oh, you called it. Nobody cares that I called it today.
Exactly.
The problems I bet that you have, that I have, they're not unique to today to tomorrow. They repeat on sometimes weekly, daily. So we try our hardest to be proactive, but it's still a challenge.
It's always a challenge. And again, It's nice to have that for me, what's helped me in my business on the consultant side has been being able to give that outside opinion for me to focus on proactive, bring those proactive solutions to the table as options, not, suggestions, not that, hey, this is what we must do, but these are some things that have worked for us, and it also gives opportunity to team up and get other eyes to it. A lot of times maybe our pride gets in the way. We don't reach out to other districts or reach out to other people in the industry that do what they do. Maybe we kind of get the advice from like awesome things like this podcast where people talk and, you kind of hear their story and hope that you could pull a little nugget out, that kind of help you through. But the answers are out there. Like I said, success leaves clues in the beginning. And, we just have to have the ability to ask and reach out and just get after it. So I enjoy that. That's the funnest part. I think that the custodial mindset has always been something that's intrigued me, and something that I've always been trying to figure out. And why are you in your role? How can we make that role better? How can we show the value? I think COVID obviously lit it up, right? I mean, they put a big bullseye on the custodial staff, in a good sense, and it could be negative as well. It depends on how you view it or how they view it, right? But for us, I think it's really opened the eyes, and I just really want to take it and run with it, and so, that's kind of where we're at today.
How was COVID for you guys last year? I mean, do you guys, I can't imagine you stayed open the whole year. I don't know. Pardon me. I know that what we did here in New York, I know New York was a challenge. How was it for you guys?
Yeah, we followed the same footprint pretty much than you guys. I mean, we're e-learning majority of the year. It took like the last 3 months that we get, probably 20% to 40% of our students back. Nowhere near as close as we thought. So we pretty much, when I talk to my team here and even some other teams that I work with in my business, it was 18 months of summer mass cleaning. That's pretty much what it was. And, it was really we used it to the best of our ability to advance these buildings. When you got a lot of old buildings and we were painting, changing ceiling tiles, painting ceiling grids.
That's really great. So you guys were able to stay busy at least.
Oh my God,
Good
man.
for
We
you.
really put in a ton of work. My team was phenomenal. I'm so proud and blessed for the effort that they put in. And I'll tell you right now, we just did training on Friday night, and I stood there and I'm like, told them that, something they didn't think they were going to hear. And it's like, you made it through it, and they were so, they're just like, finally, we're going to get back to some simplicity, some normalcy.
Are you guys going back full 100%?
Today is day one. Yeah.
Nice.
Day one. Everybody was in the building today. So
good for you.
Yeah. Super excited, for them. And, what a sense of accomplishment for the team. And again, it's their hard work that opened up the doors today, so.
Yeah, that's really great.
Blessed and honored for that,
We are anticipating the same here. My wife is a school teacher, and so she has really she hated the remote option.
Oh yeah.
And there are some teachers, I think, here in New York City who are striking because they still want to work from home. They do not want to go to school, and it is what a nightmare it has been to try to teach kids remotely. I teach adults remotely, and it's a challenge.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I can't get adults to focus. Could you imagine a 15-year-old with a cell phone? Forget it.
Gotta start handing out Adderall to everybody. Here you go. Here's an Adderall for your session so you can focus. All right, dial it. Stop seeing squirrels. You gotta have a squirrel across the screen and you're done, So,
1,000,000%. There's gotta be something. No, so thank God we too are going back to school 100%. And I'm super happy to hear that you guys didn't have any backfall, with you guys weren't laid off at all, it sounds like, which is really great.
No, not at all. No school district really in our state. Honestly, the state did pump a lot of money into the districts. I think they really did do a nice job of keeping us going. There were 7 weeks we didn't do nothing at all, but we got paid, we just, which was awesome. The first from March 13th, when they shut the world down, for first 7 weeks, our superintendent said, hey, stay home, stay safe. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Us as admin, we were in the buildings, we were checking everything and kind of going through, doing our thing. But we just kept everybody home, everybody safe. And then we slowly brought them back. And then we got after the buildings. We knew it was going to be a while. And so we utilized that opportunity to really impress and advance the schools.
That's really smart. Did you guys, and I imagine the answer is yes, did you have to go to like the partitions, the plastic, when you did eventually bring kids back last year, the 20, 30%, did you guys have to create these desk partitions and all this stuff?
Yeah, great question. We did more, we didn't do the desk shields. Like I know some of the there was, some of the customers that I work with, they did that. They brought in like every desk had a shield on it.
Yeah, we did here.
So for us, we didn't invest our money there. We invested our money in shields with the teachers if they were sitting up close. We really focused on the physical distance part, keeping the desk 6 feet apart, keeping the teacher, that distance away, keep the mask on, obviously, kept them eating in the rooms, stuff like that. And it wasn't a full day either. It was only for about 4.5 hours. So they would get breakfast in the morning, but they were taking lunch home with them. So, we fed.
Great.
Our district fed well over 1 million meals to our community, not just students, but just the community in general. That was a big push that we did as well. We had that, our food service team was fantastic, getting after it 4 days a week, feeding our local community. So it was awesome.
One of the biggest challenges that we had here, and I know a bunch of people who clean schools, public schools, and also went to the partition where we were partitioning each desk and offering all it provided. And, now we're looking into the new school year. It provided a lot more cleaning surface areas. Mm-hmm. And we're already, we struggle with staffing. I don't know if you guys are struggling to get staff.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We're struggling to get staff. So to add more cleaning space and reduce the workforce is, kind of like the perfect storm of, what are you kidding me kind of thing, So I know that here we are desperate to start a huge pile of plastic shields and just throw them out in the dump. You know what I mean? Like everybody just wants to ditch them out as fast as possible just because of the cleaning work surface. It's just too much. It's too much.
For sure. I totally agree. I mean, our team struggled obviously with all the extra tasks, and, our focus obviously is safety, so, we talk to our team and say, hey, you miss spot mop in a classroom. So roger that. We're good. If you miss something, obviously the areas is all the touch points. We really, our main focus is touch points. And then with proper disinfection, giving them the right tools, electrostatic technology, which has been huge. Obviously that's launched and taken off. And, we've dove into that and just getting them the right tools to work smarter, not harder. Understanding their pain, that they're going to be limited, to what they can and can't do. And then obviously just making sure they have clear expectations on the safety portion of making sure that when our kids walk into a building, we might have missed something on the floor or that, but again, you're going to be safe and you're going to go home safe. And that's really the message that we're trying to send. And obviously the restrooms is where you get 80% of your complaints. So we're, that's the main focal point. So obviously that's our goal. That's our focus. That's what we're preaching and, for us. So.
Yeah, that's really smart. That's really great. I love that. And it's taken me a long time to recognize it, but the customer in a school is the teacher, not the student. Mm-hmm. And it's such an interesting way to look at it because my first real job was cleaning my high school. Mm-hmm. So I had the same thing where we had a little work program between 8th and 9th grade. So when I was 14 into my 15th year, I got my first job cleaning as a janitor cleaning. It's how I got the nickname, the Housekeeper. It wasn't a compliment. It was,
that's awesome.
Have you ever seen the movie, The Breakfast Club?
Yes, I have.
All right. So that part where the janitor comes in and one of the kids knows him?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, is your dad the janitor? Yeah. So I knew all the janitors because, of course, I worked all summer with them.
Awesome.
And it took about 8 seconds for people to catch on, and they were ruthless. It wasn't a compliment. Anyway, I didn't mind it. I made it through. I'm proud. I made it through. I certainly did. But I don't even remember what my point was on bringing up that I worked in the schools.
The teacher. You're talking about teachers and your.
The teacher. Yeah. So yeah. I thank you so much for that. When I was cleaning the schools, when I was, that young, I was cleaning for the other kids. I wasn't, but I never heard a single kid ever complain. Like I would see the wax on the floor and I'd be like, this room looks amazing. And they were like, we have a math homework. What are you talking about? You know, like they didn't even know a floor existed. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't even know it was there. You know, like there's a floor here, you know?
No, exactly. You know, and if you like recently, obviously going to board meetings now and, you know, spending a lot of time in those, I mean, the number one complaints are the teachers. I was like, wow, it's crazy that they're up there talking about how they have to wear masks and, you know, in other areas where, you know, it's too hot in the classrooms and things like that, you know, so all the complaints come from there. Yeah. 100%. That is our customer.
And in nursing homes, the customer is a little more fluid where it is the resident, it's a family member, it's the community at large, but the main customer is the nursing. And that's, and to even put a finer point on it, the main customer is the administration. And you don't know that's true until they're out of toilet paper or, and you have to go, oh, how many people use this bathroom? Oh, only I do. Okay. I was just in a morning meeting getting my butt handed to me because the bathrooms are disgusting. And I find out what bathroom is the only one you use. Okay,
exactly.
You're disgusting. I mean, yeah, maybe you're the problem. I just identified the issue. I just identified it. I would never say. I know. I'm saying it to you, you know, privacy between you and me, that they wouldn't listen. Peace and love. Exactly. Nurses.
Just make sure the check clears, please help me.
Yeah, no question. It's an interesting, you know, conversation to have. Who is your customer? And a lot of times it's not who we think it is.
Correct.
You know, a lot of times we think the customer is the student. We think the customer is the resident. We think the customer is the patient in the hospital. Most of the time, if you're in a nursing home, if you're in a hospital, or if you're a student at school, the last thing you're thinking about is how this place looks.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you don't go in with a broken hip and go, I wonder if the corners and edges are clean.
Yeah. Do we get the high dusting in the top of the window? You know, exactly. Yeah. Is the top of the partition dusted off? Yes, exactly. You know, running out of toilet paper is the major issue. So
exactly.
Or soap or sanitizer or whatever. Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
And understand where the complaints are going to come from and how to address it, you know, and just being able to respond quickly, you know, obviously that's the key. So
yeah, it's about being proactive. And so how are you seeing this year? This year is going to be a lot easier than last, I imagine, or maybe not. Now that you have a full student body, maybe it's not going to be easier.
I think anybody listening to this today, you know, and they're seeing, and just like you brought up earlier, our challenge today is staffing. So obviously continuing to find people to fill the gap and, you know, we're down 25 people right in day one, you know, so here we're going into day one today, we're down 25. And, you know, when you get people calling off sick, taking vacation time, which they've earned, a personal day, which they've earned, you know, and you can't fill that spot and we're pushing people overtime, you know, it's not going to take long before they get burned out. And it's not going to take long before, you know, we're not hitting our touch points. We're not hitting that safety factor. So I think, you know, our eyes are open to that. I think we're really pushing hard to fill that gap, fill that void. We have solutions. We got solutions on their way, you know, using different staffing networks and, you know, other areas that are going to help us through it. And, you know, once we get that off and running, I think we'll be fine. And then obviously once the government starts giving away free money, you know, in the unemployment line, you know, and getting these people, opening the doors for these people to come back to work, we're going to have open doors and take them.
You're seeing the same problem then that we are. Yeah. Cause that is a big problem that we're having, but you know, it's not a new problem. And in fact, you know, what's super interesting is I've been in housekeeping for more than 20 years. I've been my whole adult life, basically, I've been in cleaning, in the cleaning field, and we've always struggled with staffing. It's always been an issue. It's why things like electrostatic cleaners are so helpful. Mm-hmm. I don't think they do a very good job personally.
Well, exactly.
Because nothing takes place than an actual hand with a rag full of germicide. Nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, and disinfectants have no penetration power, which means it's only topical. So if you have a drop of blood that's 1/8 of an inch tall, which is very thin, understand that every microbe can live in that piece of blood, even if you spray it with a disinfectant, because the disinfectant can't penetrate. It only does a surface thing, you know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. My point
I
is that
appreciate it though. Yeah.
my point is that those, thank God for microfiber. Thank God for electrostatic, the Clorox 360 with the wraparound technology. Thank God for all that. Not because it does the best job, but because it does any job, which is what we're not getting staff to do, is even show up to do any job. So it's, gosh.
Well, I mean, I think hands down, I mean, as you know, I mean, statistically, the average, turnover rate is 200%, could go up to 400% in the cleaning industry, whether you're a contract cleaner, school, hospital, whatever. It's the hardest job to do because you're asking them to do the job at the latest time of the day. The off hours when they want to be with their family, going to bed, what we're, normal. You're asking them to clean toilets, which how can that be fun? And then obviously, and then all the, and then us as leaders, right? I mean, this is where it's even more important, where we don't give the acknowledgement and the thanks and the praise for the job that they do. And we just point out the negatives. If we are that type of leader and we continue to point out their flaws, we're just adding to the problem. And I think that is something that is huge for me and my team. And what we do is try to get those accolades as much as possible, celebrate the small wins. And that could be a weekly thing. It could be a daily thing. It could be whatever. I mean, we have to celebrate those small wins, especially in this industry more now than ever. And I think that's huge.
There's a great book called The 1 Minute Manager.
I love it. I have it.
Right, oh, good. All right. So it probably had, every book lands in your lap at a specific time in your life. Right. So And that book landed for me at the right time because I did not understand. I broke every one of those rules. He only has 3. The 1 Minute Manager is really 3 rules. I was breaking all 3 of them. Like I was like a trifecta of failure. But it really helped me. One of them is to spend 30 minutes a week, one day, 30 minutes. Trying to find people doing something right.
Exactly.
Because, when you work in the cleaning industry, all I ever look for is dirt. Exactly. And by the way, I don't even have to be good at it. I can find it everywhere, right? You don't even have to be very good at finding. No. Cobwebs grow every single day. Dust is falling constantly. People aren't, wiping their feet off. I mean, it's always one weather or another. And so that whole reminder to try to point out people doing something correct and recognizing them for it is very important. The other book that I would really, again, kind of fell in my lap at the right time is a book about Abraham Maslow on management.
Wow. Okay.
It is. So first of all, it's a tough book to read because he's basically dictating notes while he walks around a factory floor. Because Abraham Maslow was a psychologist who was very interested in why people do certain things. But then he got invited to go and do some observations in a factory, and he was like, "What? There's a whole new organism. There's a whole new thing. Studying human behavior outside of work is one thing. Inside of work, whole other thing. People are dynamic in teams, and us against them, and like there's all these things."
Yeah.
And one of the things that he talks about is the idea of a knowledge society, meaning all work is based on your ability to know the job. And once the person has the ability to do the job, they no longer work for you out of necessity. They work for you out of desire. Because once they teach you how to clean a school, you can go to any school.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The reason you stay for me is because I'm a halfway decent employer, because I'm a halfway decent boss.
Exactly.
If you don't understand that and embrace that, to your point, you're going to be in a lot. So Abraham Maslow kind of puts it on his head. When you work in a knowledge worker environment, which we clearly do, it all of a sudden you're competing with every other employer of similar jobs. So it behooves you to treat everybody like a volunteer. Why do people volunteer? Because they get meaning out of it, because they want to make a difference, because they want to see their work, they want to grow. So those are all the reasons why, or that you should be touting to your current staff, even though you're paying them, give them all those things that you would give a volunteer.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, a lot of things, if there's anything I could wrap up leadership, around is three simple words is what I try to follow. And it's three words that obviously changed my life. And that is why before what. And when we think about as leaders, a lot of times we respond to what people do, but we never think about why they do it. Whether you're talking about your marriage, is where it's helped me a lot. Being a dad, it's helped me a lot with my kids, is just, focusing on the why. Why are they not doing what we're asking them to do? And diving into the why. It's so easy for us. It's especially like going back to like my law enforcement, right? Someone's speeding, okay, they're speeding. That's exactly what they're doing. I could easily write them a ticket. Have a nice day. I could respond to what happened. Me as trying to be a better officer, trying to make a difference out there in the world today, is to ask them why. Why were you going so fast? Is it just your nature? Is it? And then get an understanding and a communication dialogue to get a better understanding. Some people just don't care and they're going to do what they do and they get the ticket. They get the, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, right? So, but I think as a leader, we really need to step back and try to ask the question why. Like recently I had a guy that, HVAC is huge right now. Humidity is over 80% in Chicago. We love that, right? And, we're opening our schools and he just wasn't keeping up and just struggling. He was struggling, one of my maintenance guys. And, I could easily respond to that. I could write him up. I could yell at him. I could, do a lot of different things, but I asked him why. What's going on, man? What's up with you? And sat down, pulled him in my office, had a one-on-one, and come to find out he's going through a divorce, a really bad divorce. And, and it opened up the door of saying, okay, now instead of, hey, I'm going to write you up, it's now, how can I help you? How can I step in to make your job easier right now? Because your life is not easy. And as a leader, it changed things. I got, just a text from him on Sunday, just saying, hey, I was thinking about you. Just wanted to say thanks. I really appreciated our conversation on a Sunday. Obviously it hit home, and those are things that make us different and really take us to the next level as leaders. And I hope that, people really dive into the why, why we do things instead of what people do, and really focusing on that. I think it will really help.
Agreed. I think every time something's not getting done, there's always two reasons. It's either because it was not the fault of the person who was supposed to do it, or it was their fault.
Exactly.
But if we're not curious to find out if it was or it wasn't, well, because there are times we can't get things done because the elevator breaks.
Exactly.
It's something as silly as an elevator going down, which, by the way, they go down a lot
in the healthcare industry. I'm sure
it is amazing. If I had a nickel for every time I had an elevator problem, good Lord. It seems to happen an uncanny amount of time, and who knows why, but it could be that. It could be the dryer went down. It could be, all out of their control reasons. It could be that this recently happened where there was a shooting in the town, and had nothing to do with our nursing home, had nothing to do with anything, but it did prevent the bus from getting across town. And everybody who rode the bus was 60 minutes late because of the shooting.
Obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
Not their fault.
Exactly.
Could you imagine them walking in the door and getting written up because they weren't on time? And and I know people would be like, "Well, then you should have taken an earlier bus." Listen, I'm not taking the 4:30 a.m. bus to be at a job at 7.
Exactly. In case there's a shooting.
There's a shooting.
Exactly. I agree.
Right. So I'm just reiterating what you're saying. But there's always two reasons. It's either their fault or not their fault. And if it is their fault, that's a completely different conversation than if it's not their fault.
Yeah. And a lot of times it comes down to just, did we as leaders provide clear expectations? Did we communicate? How many times, in what we do, we assume, right? Obviously what that means. So, a lot of times we assume they know what they're supposed to do. They assume they can get it done. They assume they have the right tools. We provided everything, and we did, and they're afraid to obviously speak up. They don't want to be the squeaky wheel and get in trouble, or, get pushed back, or, maybe you yelled at them one time because you were in a bad day, and then they take that, they use that to the rest of their career, so you never know. And it's just for us to kind of reiterate and have that conversation to say, hey, a lot of times it is us. And that, going back to where we started, which is amazing, is that we have to apologize. we apologize and we move forward if that's the case.
If that's the case, I do want to give you the last word because we're out of time, and I
hear you.
I just want to, but I'm not going to. I want to. I'm not going to. No, no. I how do I say this? I appreciate the conversation when it is all about how do we as leaders, as managers, as the people who say that we are going to be responsible, we are okay with having the be responsible for the outcomes. I'm all on board with wanting to get better. I am all on board with trying to figure out if it, how to make things happen faster, quicker, to get more buy-in. I'm all for pizza parties and blue jeans on Fridays and pats on the back and recognition and thank you cards. I'm all for it. I really am. But I'm also not of I don't believe in the mantra that all employees are wonderful and all managers can do better. Most employees can do better. Most employees don't take the time to go, what am I doing wrong? And that is perhaps the difference between us. I'm willing to say it,
I think I agree 100%. I think the struggle that we all have as leaders.
I'm more pro management than I am anti, or than I am more, pro management than I am anti management. And I'm a lot I'm more anti employee than I am anti manager. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm far more on the side of leadership and people who say I'll be in charge than I am to think that there's managers out there just rolling over, well-intentioned employees. Not that it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen to the extent, in my opinion, as much as it's reported.
Yeah, I think that leadership, there's a lot to it, right? And I think we're touching on just a couple aspects of it. I think the key point to leadership and where a lot of us struggle is the accountability aspect of it. One term that I use is we have to kick the crutches out first. And that's what I believe. So if we kick the crutches out, if we take away all the excuses, if we remove that piece, then it's on them. But until we do that, I truly believe it's on us. So if we give them the tools that they need, if we have the conversations, if we make sure we train them properly, if we make sure that we are empathetic at times, that's one thing. But then there comes a point, like you're saying as well, that the employee has to step up. Again, going back to where we started, how about being on time? How about wearing a uniform? How about, how about you get paid for 8.5 hours for doing 7.5 hours of work? Give me 4 hours. I'd be happy with 4. You know what I mean? As well as I, we can't do the, trash and dash. That's not the way, that's not what we hired you for. Anybody can do trash and dash in our buildings. So again, it's just, there's a lot of truth to that. The accountability portion is the final piece. But a lot of people use that as the first piece. And that's kind of what I get to, and is that doesn't have to be that way. Kick the crutches out, get the excuses out of the way, then let's have an adult conversation. And from there, I'm sorry, it's going to work out in my favor more than yours. If that's the case.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. You said that you have a consulting company. How do people find you? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's called M2D LLC, Made to Deliver Solutions. We're on LinkedIn. Obviously, that's the key. We push LinkedIn heavy. Look us up on LinkedIn. We do have a website in the works, up and running. It's just, again, putting the transition in. I'm a busy guy, and I need to focus obviously more on the promoting aspect of the marketing of it. But I'm really just taking it. I put my heart and soul into it, and to really try to advance our custodial team and work with our directors out there and give them an extra helping hand just to, make change in this industry. So the best place is LinkedIn. So look us up on LinkedIn, and then I'll with your permission, I'll put your link in the show notes so everybody can connect with you here as well. So that'd be really fantastic. And by the way, do you speak at all? Or do you belong to like the National Speakers Association? Have you done anything like that? No, not yet. I do a ton of speak. Obviously,
we're going to have to get you signed up because
please,
we're going to have to get you involved in the National Speakers Association. You have a fantastic chapter out there too. So out in Chicago. So it's actually, I think you have a few to choose from. I think there's a bunch of places all around there that are offering all kinds of mentoring and just knowledge on how to get more speaking gigs, which is of course the whole backbone of trying to be a thought leader, trying to influence, try to help people,
Amen.
to get better. And leadership is so needed, and that subject matter is so needed. So I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to get you in touch with somebody.
Tagging you in, man. Thanks for the help. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I love the support anyways. And again, thank you for this. Thank you for today. Thank you for everybody who listened. I love you. I appreciate you. If I always say this whenever I do a speaking is do us a favor, do Ralph and me a favor. Tell somebody you love them today. Reach out to somebody, tell them you love them, because we all need to hear that, especially right now.
Call your dad.
Call somebody. Yeah. Amen. Right. So
everybody's always like, call your mom, call your dad.
Call your dad. Yeah. Really,
call your dad.
Call us once in a while. We need love too, you know.
I'm talking to my own kid. Call your dad.
But it's important, you know what I mean? But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
That's so awesome. That's it. The Housekeepers Podcast. This has been truly the cleanest hour in podcasting. It's been so much fun. Thank you, Rob, so much for coming on. As Rob was saying, if you enjoyed today's show, please make sure that you tell everybody. You're like, oh, they got to listen to this show, the Housekeepers Podcast. I saw somebody's post the other day, and I had shared, we're going to have the show, and somebody wrote, they shared the post, and they didn't share it with me. They shared it on their own social media, but I got the notification, so I was able to see it. And they said, I know that this may not seem like something for you. Maybe it sounds like a boring subject because it's cleaning. She goes, but I love this stuff. I was like, I don't know who she is, but I too, speaking my language, love this stuff. So if you like us, like this stuff, if you really like the discussion behind cleaning and business and leadership and mentoring and everything that is so super great with this industry, please make sure that you subscribe to our show. Share the show, write a review of the show. Would really appreciate you. And of course, if you have or know someone, or you are someone who owns a cleaning business, you're in the cleaning industry and you would like to be on the show, be considered to be on the show, please reach out to me. Send me a direct message. Send me an email at info@ralphpeterson.com, and we'll see about getting you on the show. We're always looking for fantastic guests like my friend Rob Bernardy.
Yeah, you got
Rob Bernardy, going from mafia to the police officer.
It's amazing where these conversations go, Ralph. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I didn't know I was going to go there, but
who knows? That's the gift of podcasting. We go everywhere. This is like you don't know it, but this is like the lasso of truth. Everybody tells the truth when you're on a podcast. So that's it. Rob Bernardy, Ralph Peterson, the Housekeepers Podcast.